Hey everybody, I'm back out here for another one of my lunch break chats, with the difference being today I'm actually sitting in my car outside of the park that I usually record these videos in, because it's like 36 degrees outside in Houston today. It's really cold, a little bit too cold for me to just go post up at a park bench and record a video for the next 15 minutes. So I decided it was probably better to just kind of chill out in my car in the nice warmth and stay nice and cozy while I share some thoughts with you guys. So the thing that's on my mind today is spirits, our ancestors and our spirit guides, or our ancestors and just simply other dead. So every single person who is alive and walking this earth today has a myriad of spirits who also walk with them. We have our ancestors who are tied to us through blood, but we also have spirit guides and other dead who walk with us as well. They can be from various cultures that aren't even our own. These spirits, some of them are born with us, and they've been walking with us since the moment we took our first breath. Some a larger majority of these spirits come to us throughout the years. They find their way to us for various reasons. But that's a topic for a different video, as that gets rather in depth. It can become complex, and it really just kind of deserves its own series of videos. But today I just want to touch on ancestors. So when it comes to the number of ancestors that a person has, it works like this. Every generation, every generation, the number of ancestors doubles, right? So if you start with your parents, there's your first two ancestors. You move to your grandparents, now you're at 4 ancestors. Great-grandparents, you're at 8. Great-great-grandparents, you're at 16. And so on and so forth. By the time you've made it 20 generations back, you're talking a number that's something like 1.4 million people. You go back 30 generations with all of that same doubling happening, you're talking about like 1 billion people. Now in reality, most people don't have 1 billion ancestors, because we have something that's known as pedigree collapse, which is, for lack of a better term, it is when you have distant relatives who then marry and share common ancestors, right? Which nowadays is like one of those sort of practices. But for the longest time, I mean, most cultures practiced this in some regard, and it wasn't always really shunned, okay? So there's that to understand. But anyways, so most of us, we have into the millions of ancestors, right? In fact, most of us share ancestors. When you consider that the cradle of human life is Africa, we all have one kind of soul origin. So that makes us brother and sisters, right? Now, maybe we're not related by blood, and maybe I've never even met you, don't know your family, and you're a fictional character as far as I'm concerned, right? But technically speaking, we all share ancestors. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this, is I want everyone to realize that every single living human being right now, we're all more alike to each other than we tend to believe. We may not share the same interests, we may not share the same hobbies, and we may not even share the same skin tone or anything, right? But ultimately, if we go far enough back, we all share a common thread of DNA somewhere along the lines, right? So I'm wanting to point this out to you today, because I want people to understand how important it is to respect people. When you are out and about, be mindful of this. If you see a little old lady struggling to open the door for her. If you see someone struggling with something, step up and try and offer your help. I think in our modern times we've stepped away from that in a lot of ways, and while this right here will get rather complex, I think that us stepping away from those things is actually what has ultimately led to things like an increase in depression, an increase in attention deficit disorder, an increase in a feeling of loneliness amongst most people, an increase in the lack of wanting to interact with others. Right? I remember growing up. I'm almost 40. I remember growing up. We played outside with our friends. We spoke to people at the store, and yeah, of course, we always kept in mind stranger danger and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, people interacted with one another way differently, even 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's kind of insane to think about, but so anyways, here's the thing. When we all share ancestry, right? When we share these spirits that walk with us, right? We may end up running into an issue where we end up doing something bad to somebody, whether we know them or not, and simply because they have some familial spirits that walk with them that also know us because they also walk with us. This can create a lot of havoc in one's life, not just for the mundane, everyday person, right? For them, yes, it shows up as strings of bad luck and things of that nature. Depression, loneliness. Yes, I fully believe that our spirits, or the spirits that are around us every single day, very much can affect things in our physical world. They can affect our emotions, they can affect our thoughts, they can affect our physical well-being, right? So when you go out into the world and you treat someone in a way in which they didn't deserve to be treated that way, or you perform some sort of magical work that is just not justified to do, you may end up running into the situation where that person's spirits are more familiar with you than you may even realize. And when that happens, they can begin to close doors. You can begin to lose opportunities. And just even from the perspective of a spiritual worker, right? You may end up having trouble performing divination now. Maybe your magic stops working altogether. Maybe every time you petition a saint or a spirit to do A, B, or C for you, it ends up being the exact opposite effect of what you asked for. You're being punished, right? So yeah, I just want to stress to you all, please, please, please show each other respect. Go out into the world and perform kindness. This isn't a discussion of karma, right? I don't believe in karma. There are too many people in this world who do great things and get punished. There are too many people in this world who do bad things and get praised, right? I don't believe in karma, but I do believe that these spirits that walk with us, with all of us, they're watching what we're doing. They're paying attention, right? And so they either will bless you or they can curse you. And you won't even know what's going on because you are just an incarnated spirit. You are a spirit in a body. You do not live in the spiritual realm. You live here upon earth. There is very little that you're going to do about it unless you can determine exactly what is going on. And in order to do that, yeah, you really need to be able to tap into your your spiritual gifts and tap into your practice and use it. But how are you going to do that when you've had those doors closed to you because you misused them, and some spirits who happen to know who you are decided, well, I'm going to put a stop to that so that they can't do that anymore, right? So please, please, please go out of your way to be respectful. Go out of your way to be kind to strangers. You never know who that person is. You never know what spirits are working or walking with that person. You just don't know. So do yourself a favor, even if it doesn't have anything to do with paying honor and respect to that person. Honor and respect the spirits around us, and honor and respect yourself, and just go out and do good in the world, right? Now, on top of all of that, everyone has spiritual gifts that they're born with. We all have different abilities that we can tap into. Some of us may know how to do this thing better than this other person, while this other person may know how to do this other thing better than us. And I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about magic right now. So we are given these gifts. These are gifts from God, and they're gifts from our ancestors and from our spirits. Again, that's one of those really, really broad and very, very detailed topics that maybe we'll get into one day, right? But for now, suffice it to say that you need to honor those gifts. Those were given to you. You were born with these abilities through the spirits that walk with you and by God's grace. The moment that you begin to step out of line of that, you will start to see some of these abilities diminish, right? And it may not be quick. You may do something terrible today, right? And then a year from now, all of a sudden, you've realized that over that span of the year, you haven't, maybe you've stopped working with your ancestors. Maybe you've done less praying, or maybe you've come to realize that in the past year, everything that you've attempted to do just has not worked out, right? Again, very similar to disrespecting someone in some egregious manner and having spirits then come back and say, okay, well, you're going to stop doing that. This is very much the same thing. You gain your abilities and your spiritual gifts from those who came before you. Honor them by doing right with them. Honor them by paying those things forward and by helping your fellow man. And if you don't want to go out of your way to help your fellow man, fine. Help yourself. Help yourself to become the best version of you that you can be, so that you are at least not contributing to the negative in the world, right? So that's all I wanted to talk about. These little chats, I think I'm starting to get a little bit more fluid with, so just so everyone is clear, I am not a camera person. I don't normally care much to be on video, right? So you'll have to excuse me if I stutter a lot, and I'm trying to figure out what words I want to use, and my mind goes a million miles a minute on top of already kind of being a little bit awkward on camera. But I'm starting to see over, now that I'm a few of these little lunch chats in, starting to see that it's becoming a little bit more fluid. And plus, these little chats that we're having, again, I don't sit down and write a script for them. I just, have a couple of thoughts, usually about an hour before I take my lunch from work. And then I'm like, oh yeah, let me talk about that on the camera, right? So please excuse any stumbling and stuttering and, me being all over the place with the subject matter. You can rewatch this video a million times and I'm sure deduce exactly what I'm trying to say. But it will get better over time, I promise. So anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today, really. Just go out into the world, be a light to somebody. Be respectful to those that you don't know, because there may be something that walks with them that takes offense to whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, there's that portion of the video. The other thing I want to tell you guys is that, I had made mention of we're working on a podcast and working to get a website back up with a blog and maybe some coursework and stuff like that. So leading up to that, I have now gone ahead and opened up my schedule for spiritual readings and for some root work. Just depends on what it is that you need done. But yeah, so feel free to reach out to me if you need readings, if you need some work, if you just want to consult with me on something that you're doing. I don't mind talking to you, discussing things and brainstorming and bouncing ideas back and forth. All of this that I practice, I grew up with it, right? So, and I enjoy it. I'm not out here just trying to make a quick buck. I would like to get paid for the things that I do, obviously, but I do have a full-time job. So, I do this because I enjoy it. I really, really love it, right? I like helping people out, and ultimately, through all of the different traditions and things that I've been involved in over the years, my path is supposed to be one of calmness and of healing. And so that's what I'm setting out to do now, is to live that calling of mine, to be a light in the world, and to heal. So, yeah, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is in the description of this video. So that's all I have for you guys today. I'm about to be running late for work, running late back to work. So I got to get out of this parking lot, but I wish you all a great day. And please be blessed.